Hello everyone. As promised, I am on close to 9:30. I always get nervous coming on live. It's always super interesting to me. Let me see, this lighting feels very bright. I don't know. I think we'll just go with this one for now. So I hope everybody is doing well, and I decided to come on tonight to talk about the topic of self-love. Now, I know it's an overdone thing, so I don't want to lose any of you guys. But I think given everything that's happening right now, it's really important that we do practice a lot of self-love, or at least just honoring what it is that our bodies are telling us and that our mind is telling us as well. So, all right. So the first thing I wanted to say is when I talk about self-love and honoring ourselves, it's not an ego-focused thing. What it is recognizing the innocence and purity within us and almost kind of treating ourselves like a child, and having a lot of compassion for ourselves. And again, noticing and acknowledging when we're having issues, around us, and paying attention to the things that are not working for us. It's about remembering where we come from and, our connection to source and respecting that. So that's kind of what self-love is about, just taking really good care of ourselves and paying attention to what our soul is trying to tell us, what it's trying to remind us of. So that's the topic I wanted to talk about tonight. So how is everybody doing, by the way? Before I go on, today was a pretty crazy day, so I'm a little wired up right now, but so self-love, what does it look like? Hi, Mike. Thank you for watching. So self-love is kind of protection of our energy. It's protection of our space. It's letting people know how they can talk to us, the kind of language they use themselves. It's also the language that we use with ourselves as well. I had posted something earlier about paying attention to the thoughts that run through our mind that tell us how we treat ourselves, how we're speaking to ourselves. Self-love also looks like respecting our boundaries. Hi, Adam. So it's respecting our boundaries. It's learning how to say no to people. And again, it's following our intuition and our heart when it comes to making choices and paying attention to what best represents us and what feels true to us, regardless of outside circumstances. So one thing I like to ask people, if you feel you fall into the category of lacking in the self-love department, and don't get me wrong, I don't claim to be ever perfect in any of these areas. There's always fine-tuning that can happen. But this is something that I had focused a lot on for myself, was kind of evaluating how well I treat myself. Now, as a Virgo, I tend to be a little critical of myself to begin with. So this was a little bit harder of a lesson for me to learn. But one thing I always tell people is if you are in this department where you kind of struggle with, respecting yourself, or when you find that you tend to be a doormat for other people, a question that I like to ask people is, at what age or what time in your life did you stop respecting or loving yourself? Was it something from childhood? What happened with it to make you feel that you were not worthy of treating yourself, on an unconditional kind of compassionate way? Let's see. So does anybody want to share anything about that? So yeah, I always ask people, when was that time that you decided you didn't really treat yourself very well? Sometimes it comes from childhood. Like I said, it can be a lot of issues with that. Now, the problem when it comes to self-love is that when we choose to find things and people and situations and career that best represent who we are, it tends to cost us something. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but it challenges us to face a lot of fears and kind of step into the unknown, because we are choosing something that does not have maybe an immediate outcome right in front of us. So that tends to happen too when you're practicing a lot of self-love, is you make these choices that you don't really have the outcome right in front of you. So that is one thing that I wanted to talk about with self-love for that. Now, how many of you would say during this time period that you are taking really good care of yourself and you're making choices that are keeping your vibrational frequency high at this point with everything happening? I don't know. Like, I know it's been really challenging. A lot of people are getting hit with a lot of stuff right now. I was only taught about worthiness after I was a much older person. Yeah, Adam, that happens a lot. Like I said, when we come down here, we kind of get a lot of lessons on, well, I should say this. A lot of people tell us how to live our life. They kind of put a lot of this pressure of, well, you should do this, you need to do this. And then we kind of take on that thinking for the rest of our lives. And we ignore a lot of what's happening internally. Yeah. Well, that's nice, Jordan. It's, you know, one thing I did learn about this time period especially is it is really crucial that we just keep choosing ourselves over a lot of things. And like I said, it sounds very selfish, but if we don't do that, we aren't able to live our life to the fullest. And the problem is when we don't honor ourselves, we tend to build resentment, and then we have anger, and then we kind of lash out on other people, and we're not acting who we want to be on a deep soul level. So that's why I always push like self-love. Make sure you're taking really good care of yourself, because that's when you can radiate the best amount of energy to other people. And as I previously mentioned, when it comes to making choices for yourself, you're going to anger a lot of people. You know, a lot of people are going to be challenged because you're choosing something that may put them out of their comfort zone. So you're making choices that may make someone else have to face their fear, or make someone else have to face their belief system and evaluate their own belief system about a lot of things. So that can happen as well when you start making choices that are best for you. What was I going to say? I would say a lot of people have trouble believing that they have faith, oh my gosh, I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry, I was seeing a lot of people like pop on, and I'm like trying to read and also speak at the same time. Hi, Sandra, it's nice to see you. How are you doing with everything? Are you still working? So how many of you are looking at your daily life and asking yourself whether it's people, environments, food, chemicals that you're, ingesting or putting on you or anything? How many of you are asking if these things are actually serving you and benefiting you and making you feel really good? I know a lot of people tend to make a lot of choices and a lot of actions, again, where they feel that, well, I should do this. And I was looking at the Louise Hay book earlier. Let me see. So there's an activity in this book, and I've referenced this book like a bunch of times. So again, it's the Louise Hay book. And in here, she has like her clients make a list of things that they feel they should do. And the problem is then she asks them why they should. And a lot of times people have a lot of unique responses about, well, my parents think I should, or it's my responsibility, or this and that. And half the time in our lives, we're doing things we don't even want to do. We're only doing it because other people have maybe told us, because we have these ingrained belief systems that we were raised upon. And it takes a lot to challenge a lot of the things that had been put into your mind. And I always push that when it comes to life in general. If you take the time to pause and look at your life, you need to evaluate the areas that actually represent who you are. And if it's something that you don't like, you want to find out how you can make it something that does resonate better with you. I wish people, hang on, I gotta click see more here. I wish people knew the difference between selfish and self-care. Selfish is only when you have no awareness of your effect on others. That is very true. Yep. It's really hard when you say self-care, but you can actually help other people better when you do take better care of yourself. Like I said, it might set some people off, but at the same time, being yourself helps remind other people what they can do for themselves too. And that self-love that they need to have for themselves and compassion that they need to have. Because when we, again, don't take care of ourselves, we tend to project our pain and our frustration out on others, and that doesn't benefit anybody, including ourselves. It actually leads to a lot of energetic draining. So yeah, if anyone's ever interested in getting that book, I highly suggest it in that section there. Like I said, she's got a lot of activities in the book. But yeah, so I always encourage people to look at your life and say, is this draining me? Is this benefiting me? How do I feel after experiencing this? How do I feel after eating this? So many people, boundaries is a massive issue with people. I get a lot of clients who have issues with setting boundaries with others, and then they turn into doormats, and then they're like, you know, really upset at others. And don't get me wrong, like I've been down that path too. And it's really draining, and it doesn't really best suit us. We're not really taking very good care of ourselves then. My job does not make me feel family support responsibility of my mind needs to be repurposed daily to limit the drain. Yeah, no, it's not easy, especially because a lot of people are stuck home. A lot of people right now have been forced to readjust a lot of their lives, and we're kind of all in this like fight or flight uncertain area. We're not really sure what's going to happen next. And so that's one thing that adds to the stress too. Let me see. Yeah, and it takes a lot of balls to like leave a job, especially if you have nothing lined up afterwards. It takes a lot of strength to do that. If you're like, I absolutely cannot do this anymore, it is a big risk to leave something or leave a situation or leave someone or change something in your life, you know, if you don't have the outcome right there in front of you. How many of you would say that you talk to yourself in a very kind way? Again, I had mentioned this earlier today. I had done a post on the thoughts that run through our mind. And like, if people were to pay attention to the things that they think about throughout the day, is it usually positive talk? Is it usually negative? Like, where are people with that? A lot of us spend a lot of time saying, well, I should be doing this. I could be doing this, even though your body and your mind and your energy is just like, don't do that at all. I mean, cleaning is probably one thing where you're sitting there, you're just like, I should clean, but my body's telling me to rest. It's important to, first of all, if it's a regular thing, pay attention to why you feel the need to rest so often. But if it's not, honor what your body is telling you and take good care of yourself. A lot of times people end up sick. They end up stressed to the max, you know, and of course that affects us even on a chemical level. We start releasing all these, oh my gosh, adrenal stuff, you know, that end up exhausting us and making us sick anyway. And then what good are we, you know, to those around us if we're in a really horrible shape? So I really do push that with a lot of people too, is just take really good care of yourself. And got a lot warmer in here than I had expected. So things that we do to not take care of ourselves. We ingest things that we know we shouldn't. Let's say you eat something, let's say you're eating dairy and afterwards you feel horrible. Chances are you shouldn't be eating dairy then. We don't pay enough attention to our bodies. Sometimes we're just like, we mistreat them and we just take advantage of the fact that we have them, rather than honoring what it's trying to tell us. We may ingest too much alcohol. We may abuse our bodies in other ways, putting a lot of chemicals on them, just not treating ourselves well. We self-sabotage, maybe in relationships. These are all ways that we don't really take care of ourselves. We don't take care of our energy. You know, we push things away that are good for us. And these are things that really drain us in that way. I do speak kindly to myself, except in a few areas. I am an amazing person and have learned to own it. So Adam, did that take you kind of a while to get to that point though? There was another exercise in the book that she talks about taking a mirror and telling yourself that, in the mirror, saying how much you love yourself and that you accept yourself as who you are. And I wonder how many people could actually really do that and not struggle to say the words. I know I had tried it before and I was just like, oh, this is intense. It's such a simple sentence, but when you're staring at yourself and you're trying to tell yourself you love yourself, sometimes it's really difficult if you're very critical of yourself. My body literally told me that I needed to exercise. I've slept better than I have in a long time. Yeah, I'm so glad. It is so crucial that we pay attention. And I was always very big on being productive. Well, I should get this done. I should get that done. And it ended up costing me energy. I was angry and frustrated because I was extra tired, rather than just trusting in the moment what my body is telling me. And I was fighting it. And I was like, nope, I have to do this because this is what I need to do, rather than what do I want to do, you know? Decades, yeah. It takes a while, especially if you've been given some harsh lessons in childhood or when you were younger or whatever. It takes a lot of energy to kind of undo what you have learned. But during this time period, I had watched a video where this woman was talking about the best thing for us to do right now with everything that is happening. And in case you guys don't know, I have spent a lot of time looking up a lot of things and what's happening, not only from like the 3D perspective, but also like 5D stuff and everything. And a lot of what she was pushing was taking this time period to focus on yourself, to really focus on yourself. And it's funny because a lot of us have either been quarantined, forced home, you know, obviously outside distractions are limited. So we have no choice but to kind of sit with our own thoughts and our own energy. But that's good. It's really painful sometimes to see these areas that aren't working for you, or ways that you've betrayed yourself and haven't listened to yourself. But a lot of us have been given the opportunity to see this and to have light shine upon this, so we can make better choices that make us vibrate at a higher frequency. You know, like I said, if you're, you know, stressing yourself out, not taking care of yourself, it's not going to help anybody. It's just going to drain you. And then, you know, that frustration, that energy has to go somewhere. So either you house it or other people get doses of it. And in my opinion, I would like to see humanity be a little better to each other. So I really do encourage people to take really good care of yourselves, and make choices that surround yourself with as much peace as you can, especially during this time period. I think that's really crucial. And again, not always easy to do, but grounding really works really well. You know, getting outside, meditating, surrounding yourself with peaceful sounds, peaceful environments if you can. A lot of this stuff is extremely helpful during this time. So does anybody else have anything they wanted to say? I didn't really want to do a super long video, but I did want to come on and talk about this because I do believe it's very important. Self-love also includes following your heart and intuition, despite what other people say. And this is probably the hardest thing, not only with self-love, but with awakening and the spiritual path in general, is, you know, a lot of us who have been on this path for a while, we have fought a lot of like societal norms. We have fought a lot of people maybe who have doubted us, who there's just been a lot of energy that a lot of us have had to fight through to get where we are. And I always tell people, no matter what, always follow your heart and follow your gut. That knows everything. If you are very in tune with your body, if you've spent the time taking care of yourself and loving yourself, and you are really looking to shift your life, it's really important that you listen to that voice inside you, that inner the inner connection to source that you have, that's telling you what would work really well for you. A lot of us forget that. We start throwing the logic in there. We start listening to what other people are telling us, especially during now. Like, there's so much going on, so much outside chatter, that it's really important during this time period to take the time alone to gather your thoughts and to trust your intuition. Listen to what your intuition is telling you. And this is so difficult. A lot of us have been taught to believe sources outside of us. And now we've been given the opportunity to take the time to listen to what's inside of us. Our heart, our soul, our intuition knows what's up. It knows things that maybe we do not consciously know. So we have to follow that. And I push that so much. Self-love is also teaching people the right way to cherish you. Exactly. And you know what? Some people don't know. Like, if you're having an issue in your relationship, maybe you're struggling, like someone's not speaking to you the way you want them to, or, you know, doing stuff the way you want them to. Sometimes people just need to be told, you know, this is how I best receive this, or this is how I best give this. A lot of times when it comes to that stuff, there's just a lot of miscommunication that happens with relationships with that. But some people have to be taught, and some people have to be taught in like harsher ways when you set boundaries with people and you're just like, this is not okay. And that was one thing that even I had struggled with for a long time, was saying no because I felt bad. I was like, well, I should do this and this and that. But like I said, that energy and that inner resentment starts to build after a while. Sometimes if we can't love ourselves, we can still receive love from the right people. Yep. Yeah, I know. What was I saying that a lot of people disagreed with? You can't love unless you learn to love yourself. I don't know how I feel about that. I think other people, by being themselves, can show you how to better love yourself. I do believe that there's like a mirror effect with that by people taking care of themselves, sometimes they can reflect back to us better ways that we could take care of ourselves, you know? So I do believe that. There are a lot of people that help support us and show us how to love ourselves as well. And there are other people that challenge us to, you know, in a moment say, do you choose yourself again? If we're surrounded, you know, by people or situations that are challenging us, every chance, or when this happens, a lot of us are given the opportunity to choose ourselves. So, I don't know I think one of my kids are awake. I'm hearing noise. But yeah, a lot of us every day in life are pretty much given the choice, do you choose yourself? Are you throughout the day following what is best for you? So anyone else have anything they want to say? How do I handle these times? How do I handle these times? I try to do a lot of meditation if I can. Even if I'm in the car, I tend to do really well when it comes to music. I tend to drift off. My Pisces moon kind of floats away. I do really well with that. I take a lot of baths. That's really helpful for me. Water really works. It's a very grounding thing. I try to get outside when I can. I try to eat well if I can. Luckily, I do like a lot of healthy food anyway, but my people showed me how to love myself. There's a lot of power in people being who they are, because again, when someone is who they are on a pure level and they're honoring themselves, there's qualities in them that again will reflect who we want to be, and then that's what happens a lot of times is people show us who we either don't want to be or who we want to be. They show us elements of ourselves that probably need to be addressed, or just the good stuff about us too. And also when it comes to self-love, paying attention to how much you're criticizing yourself. And a lot of us do have the light and shadow sides to our personality. And I think it's important that we learn to love both. When it comes to a kid, when they have, bad behaviors, we still accept them as they are, or, even babies, we still accept them. So why would that change? I think a lot of the problem is a lot of us forgot to have compassion for ourselves and then thus one another, You think, and in the book it had mentioned, when a baby is born, they're born perfect, and at some point in time, people get older, and then that unconditional love kind of fades away, and we start to be taught conditions on love. Part of this process is remembering again who we came from, where we came from, and the purity and the innocence within our souls, and trying to radiate that light as much as possible to other people. Yeah, so any other comments? Yeah, these times are really rough. I would say I've seen a lot of people have areas illuminated in their lives that they never thought they would have to address, and now they have to address it. And it is not an easy time period because a lot of us don't have those distractions anymore. We don't have a lot of sports to go to anymore, concerts, bars, restaurants, everything is all limited, by hours and all this other stuff. You can't be around certain people and whatever. So a lot of us, again, are forced to stay in and listen to our thoughts and be in our environments and then go, does this work at all for me? Or, if you've been working the whole time, you're like, does this work at all for me? It's not easy to recognize a lot of that. So if you are watching, please take this time to take very good care of yourself. Don't feel bad about it. That is one of the best things we could do, is focus our energy on the highest, clearest, highest vibrational thought patterns you can. The world really needs that. And the more light you take in, the more you can radiate out. And actually the more you can help other people just by finding that light within. And also understand during this time period, I don't know whoever's watching if you, have heard of any of this or anything, but there is an ascension process occurring in general. So a lot of us are adjusting to new frequencies that we haven't before, energetically. So a lot of times it can look really messy. Things can get really bad before they get better. So during this time period, again, maintenance of your body, maintenance of your mind, address any emotional issues, spiritual issues, whatever you got going on. We can learn to celebrate on our own rather than just for others. Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. A lot of us aren't comfortable with just being happy with ourselves, So that's my suggestion to you all, is to take very good care of yourself. If you don't have time or energy for someone or some situation, you can politely just be like, I don't have energy for this right now. Maybe we can address this at a later time. It is so crucial that we conserve our energy. It keeps us very grounded. It keeps us very mentally clear. So it's extremely helpful in that area. So make sure you're doing that and honoring what it is that your body and your mind is telling you. Anything else before I sign off tonight? It's so funny. Anytime I think about the things that I want to talk about, it never really quite goes the same way. As soon as I go live, I'm like, ah. But I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I don't know, maybe I'll come on at another time and do a card pull or something. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye.